Hello, my love. Today I want to talk about inner work. I have 4 or 5 different questions that I will be answering when it comes to inner work. 1, what is inner work? 2, why is the inner work important? 3, how do I know when I need to start doing the inner work or when I'm ready to do the inner work? 4, how? What are the action items to actually begin the inner work? And 5, what are some routines that I can implement on a day-to-day basis? So let's dive in. Before we dive into what the inner work is, I like to look at what our inner world is. I first heard this concept in the book Secrets of the Millionaire Mind by T. Harv Eker, but it goes by different names. You probably in history and in societies, in different cultures and groups of people, you've probably heard of different concepts like, oh, your gut feeling, your mindset, your subconscious, your conscious mind, your thoughts, your beliefs. All those internal things that make you are part of your internal world. They call it that. That is the title. That is the name in his book, what he called it. But you could pretty much call it your internal thoughts, the inside of you, the parts people don't see, the part you keep to yourself. And bridging into that, when I look at inner work, I think of facing yourself. I think of it as having the courage to face yourself, the dark parts, the good parts, the bad thoughts, the old actions, the things that make you, the beliefs, actions, thoughts, all the things I mentioned with your inner world, but deciding to love yourself anyway, deciding that in spite of this, I still choose to love me. In spite of this, I choose to change. In spite of this, I choose to grow. All of these inner thoughts, the inner world, shape your outer world. So that things external, the things outside of you. And when doing the inner work, that's how you're able to shape the things. It's not that you're going to control what's outside of you, but you can control how you react to it, your attitude towards it. Once you do that internal work, the internal healing, and follow your internal guide. So why would I want to do the inner work? Why is the inner work important? Simple answer is, if you want to change, if you want to grow, you do the inner work. If you want to understand yourself better, doing the inner work. You want to dive into, even if you're going real deep and wanting to look at old traumas or ways of thinking or why you do certain things you do, the inner work is necessary. I think the inner work is necessary with growth too. And inner work doesn't always look the same. I'll kind of go over some of those things in the 4th section. Things like when you notice, like I'm constantly people pleasing. I'm really bad at setting boundaries. I'm always bending over backwards for everybody else, doing for everyone else, but I don't do for myself. Or it could be that you're really reactive and it's affecting your relationships, or maybe because you're a people pleaser or you let people walk over you, it affects your career growth. That's where inner work comes in. It's for the individual, the person who wants purposeful change in their lives, and it doesn't really matter what that change is. And I guess you could say it can go both ways, bad or good, but if you do it with the right intentions, the right heart, the healing will come. You will start to transform into something totally, it's not something, but someone totally different than you expected to be. Or you could also be exposing, or not exposing, revealing your true self to you. Because that self that has been sort of pushed down or discarded or forgotten by yourself because of all the different beliefs and thought processes and things that society presses on us and our families and cultures and religions. And once you're able to think and feel for yourself, that inner work is just, it's powerful. It's really powerful. And it can be done however you would like for it to be done. Today, I'm just going to give you some examples of how to get that started. How do I know it's time to start the inner work? How do I know I'm ready? How do I know that this is the right time? Honestly, there's no right time. I'm going to be honest with you. There's no right time. You start when you just have to start. Really, you just have to start. But the signs that you might see are things like you start noticing your bad habits or noticing how you could be a problem. I made a video about this when I first got on YouTube, but sometimes it's not that everybody else is the problem. Sometimes we are the problem and we also are the solution. And that's what doing the inner work will lead us to. We see that, oh, okay, it wasn't always the guys in my life, the guys I dated. It was the patterns that I had that I kept choosing these type of men and allowing myself to be in that situation. It's not that it's your fault, but it's having the courage or at least the want to, the knowledge to take responsibility for your actions and behaviors, your attitudes and things of that sort. Another thing that it could be is that you notice that the things within you, like you start to feel led to watch certain types of YouTube videos or read certain content or to remove yourself from certain situations. It's like you become more aware and you're able to acknowledge and see things that you didn't really see. It's almost like you have new lenses. Maybe you were living life with rose-colored glasses and now you're realizing, oh, wow. You opened your eyes, you're like, oh, wow, there's a lot more out there that I didn't realize that I need to look into, adjust, pivot on, release, or even take on. And that's all I could say. I can't say that it's a time when you're going to be ready, because honestly, I don't think I was ever ready to do the inner work. I think it was just, it came to me. And I would say that all those different things combined, what I would consider them to be, is when your inner world is really just giving you the heads up, like, hey, your gut's like, hey, girl, we've been doing this for a long time. It's time to pivot. It's time to grow. It's time to release. It's time to move forward. All of those things will give you signs. And when you feel them, I recommend, when you feel your intuition, your gut telling you, pushing you, nudging you to do these things, I recommend that you do, especially with being women. A lot of us, we've learned to ignore our intuition, to not follow that internal compass, that GPS that kind of steers us and also steers us to good things and also steers us away from danger and harm. So that's some simple ways you could see if you are ready. When it comes to the inner work, before you do the inner work, I believe there are some warnings, some things that you should be aware of as you start the journey. The first thing is, when it happens, it does not happen overnight. The inner work takes time. I started my inner work journey in like 2007, 2008. Okay. It is 2025 right now. So I'm letting you know that it takes time. And some things are very quick that you could heal or that you could acknowledge, that you could pivot from, but other things may take you a long time. It can take you a few months. It could take a few weeks. It could take years. It depends. And I want you to be patient with yourself and know that it's not a sprint. It's not a race. It's not even really a marathon. It's just about growing in the journey. You may not even reach the full potential that you think that you're supposed to reach, the full amount of healing. But if you could fall in love with this journey, and that's what this whole channel is about, falling in love with the journey, the time that you have while growing through it, it's amazing. Like, that is the real change. That is the real plug. That's the real benefit of it all. The second thing I want you to be aware of is that when you're growing, when you are healing, when you're doing the inner work, you will likely be super excited. You'll be like, oh my God, this is great. I'm healing. I realize that I have this certain pattern, or I have this certain attachment style, or whatever. And you want to share that Kool-Aid with your friends and your family. But the thing is, if they're not ready, and again, I know I keep saying that you're never going to be ready, but I mean, if they're not mentally ready, like their inner world, their mindset is totally different than yours, they're not going to drink your Kool-Aid. They're not going to drink it. And that's why they say you could bring a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. Same thing. Be aware of that. Know that you will be excited. You will likely want to share things. And most people that are not on the same wavelength as you, they're not going to be open to it. They're not going to be open. The best way to do this, the best way to share it, is by living as an example, by living out this inner work that you've done. People will see it and they may ask you, oh, hey, why are you glowing? Or why don't you react the same? Or why do you have boundaries now? Why are you so detached from this? Hey, why don't you text me so much? And you'll start to see that. And they may reach out to you, but just be careful about who you're sharing your time, your energy, your thoughts with, because they can end up sabotaging you. It's like the crabs in a bucket kind of thing. They're not trying to, but it can happen. Okay. Like, it's not like they're trying to put you down. It's just that they are comfortable where they have been and they want you to stay in that comfort with them. It's not always something they're doing to be facetious or to be mean. It's just part of who they are, and they haven't grown where you have grown to and through. The third thing is being aware of self-sabotage. Your body, your subconscious has been doing and programming and living its life the way you've been living your life for all this time. And now all of a sudden you're switching up on it. And the subconscious wants you to be comfortable, wants you to be safe. And so it may try to go back on the different habits that you are implementing. And this is what you consider self-sabotage. Be aware of it. Know that it will likely happen, because it's something that again, you've been doing for, it could be decades, it could be the majority of your life, most likely at this point. If you're watching this video, I'm sure majority of people who watch my videos are over 20 years old. So it's like, if that is the case, just know that it takes a little longer to implement the habits and to change the thought process and to undo 20 years of thoughts, of actions, of thinking, of beliefs, of just hurting yourself, the words you use, all those things. It takes time to heal that. Be aware of it. Expect it. Know that it will likely happen. One thing I do recommend is putting a game plan together. It could be some guidelines or some rules, but saying that, okay, when this happens, this is what I'm going to do. If this is something that you need help on, or you would like a video on, let me know in the comments, because based on the feedback, I might just make a separate video on this, but it's something that helped me. There's certain things that I do where I know, like, okay, see, you're self-sabotaging. You were going great, and then now all of a sudden you're trying to go back on what you said and what you've been doing, all the work that you put in place, and you're doing this. And reminders just like, you deserve it. You are worthy. It's okay to heal. I'm safe. I'm loved. Those words have helped me more than they've helped me greatly. But let me know if you're interested in something like that. How do we do the inner work? I believe the first part is the mindset shifts. It's understanding that you will be uncomfortable. There will be discomfort, and being willing to face yourself anyways. I'm not saying to go deep with shadow work if that's something you're familiar with. You don't have to always be just shadow work and facing the dark parts. Face the light parts. Face the good parts of you. Fall in love with those parts of you as well. Be open to self-discovery. Who am I? What do I like? Not who I am, like I'm my career and, what I do, but who am I in my core? What do I love? What do I enjoy? If this world didn't put all their limits on me, what would I be? What would I want to be? What would I choose? If my mom didn't say how to do this, or my dad said this, or whatever society said to you, who would I be? What would I want? That type of stuff is important with inner work. What are my challenges? What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? Because sometimes we focus too much on the weaknesses and not on the strengths. I feel like if you're really good at something, you should continue to be better at it versus working so much on the weaknesses. The weaknesses are important to improve. I don't think it should be the highlight of your inner work unless it's something like boundaries, something that is affecting your day-to-day life, of boundaries, maybe your reactions, your communication skills, things like that. I would approve upon those. Doing the work probably will piss you off, probably will irritate you, probably will make you mad, because you'll start seeing things you didn't want to see, or maybe people you were angry at, now you're not going to be angry at them in the same way because you could see them as the hurt little kid that they are. Maybe you will choose not to keep them in your life, but you could forgive them now and move on. You'll start to have a different viewpoint of a lot of things. And some things will be the same. It depends on you and your journey. Examples of mindset shifts, your attachment styles, learning how to move from a anxious or avoiding attachment into a secure attachment. It may look like communication, learning how to not react so much. And I mentioned this multiple times because a lot of people are reactive. I live in Las Vegas. I see people on the freeway all the time, very upset. I used to be one of those angry drivers when I was younger, but for the past like 7 to 8 years, something like that, it's very rare I'll get angry while driving. I might make a comment every now and then like, oh, that's interesting. Like, okay, go dude. But in general, I don't react like I used to. I don't walk around like flipping people off or doing anything like that. I just kind of, you drive crazy. I hope you get home safe. Please don't hurt me. That's kind of my vibe when it comes to driving, more chill. Maybe you're someone who's held on to grudges for far too long, and you realize, okay, I need to let these go. Maybe it's your patterns you see in relationship. You have these same patterns that you have in relationship with friendships, and you start to reflect on where you can change or evolve, or where you were part of the problem or and you're also part of the solution, as I always say. All those things, being willing to love yourself anyway, in spite of all. That's part of the inner work. Understand you've been doing this for a long time, thinking this way for a long time, so it's okay if it takes a while. Mention that in a earlier section, but just in case you skip to this, just be aware of that. It's okay if it takes more time. The second part of how to do the work, I would say, is meet yourself where you're at. You may have triggers. Triggers are just mirrors. They're literally just, I remember when I first had this knowledge of it, I don't remember where I got that exact word, triggers are mirrors, but when I realized that triggers really are, it's just showing us what is bothering us, what is something that we haven't worked on enough, that's something that we need to look at, examine, and see where and why this reaction happens. So say your triggers, your reaction, could be your actions, lack of actions, boundaries, all of those things. Learning how to understand why they happen. And I don't think it's always important to understand why in total sense, but if it's part of you need to know along the journey of healing, then understanding why. And that really helped me. So I understood why certain things triggered me. And because of that, I was able to heal out of them. Another part of doing the inner work is journaling and reflection. Take your journal, take your notepad, take your recorder, whatever that is, and start doing journal prompts. I would say go on YouTube. If you're watching this video, I'll give you a couple journal prompts. Pinterest, you can look online. I'm sure you could use GPT for this too, but journal prompts to start you, beginner prompts to kind of start you getting in the mode of reflection, of seeing and meeting yourself. I would say a good journal prompt is, what is one thing about myself that I struggle to accept and why? What is the worst that could happen if I chose to accept and love this part of me? Simple. I mean, it's not simple. It's kind of deep actually, if you really journal about it, but it's a short, good beginner way to start with journaling. Another one I could think of, since a lot of people hold grudges, is what are some grudges that I have? Who have I been holding grudges against? What keeps me holding on to this grudge? Is it anger? Is it hurt? Is it defensiveness? Is it ego? Do I not want to accept what they were trying to tell me? This is something I thought about too, because sometimes our grudges, or we're angry at someone, and it's because they told us the truth that we knew was the truth, but we got defensive about it, or we were upset. We didn't believe it. We didn't want to take that as truth or that constructive criticism. Maybe we weren't ready at the time. So what were they trying to show me or tell me in this instant? What would I say to this person or write to this person if I could see them or say this to them today? These two prompts, even though technically it's multiple prompts within two that I mentioned, but those are good ones to start with if you have grudges or if you have anger, and realize that this can apply to yourself. You could be holding a grudge against yourself and not realize it. You could be angry at you, and that is a very real and valid thing that you might discover when you're doing the inner work. And that was one thing with me. I was angry at myself. I was angry at God. I was angry at a lot of other people. Short example is, I used to have a very bad father wound, and if you asked me anything about him when I was in high school, I was like, he doesn't exist. He's a sperm donor. I did not care if he passed. I didn't care if anything happened to him. I was like angry, upset, all the things. Fast forward through time, when I started doing the inner work, I could start to see him as that hurt little boy. I started to observe things I saw when I was around his immediate family, things that he would say or things they would say about him, how they spoke different things. And I'm like, that's interesting. I started to be able to see the little boy in him, and not saying that I would rock with him or be his friend and build a relationship with him necessarily, but I could actually kind of be in his shoes and see his perspective, and it led me to forgive him, which also helped me heal because I was able to forgive him. I didn't have anger or animosity towards him. Now he has passed on, but back then I was very, very upset. I was very, very upset. In the healing work, it's totally different. I could talk about him, not get upset. I don't have any ill will towards him, but it changed my life. And I don't know if he was alive still, maybe I would actually be able to have a conversation with him or spend time with him. I did a little bit before he had passed, in that year before he passed, but I don't think he's a person I would mesh with. Based on my experience with him, I don't think I would spend that much time with him, even if he was alive. Things like that, that's how you start to be able to heal. Now I could look at different people, various people, because I healed that father wound. I could look at other people that I've been angry at, or like I said with road rage, it all applied because I was able to see okay, this person who's driving, they're probably angry about something that has nothing to do with me. They may be going through it. They may be in survival mode. Their mom might have died yesterday. There's all these things, these factors, and I'm not saying that's why they are the way they are, but it could help me to have a different viewpoint to where I give them grace, to where I'm not going to succumb or react or give in to what they want me to give into. Some books that you could definitely check out relating to what I mentioned so far. You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay. How to Do the Work by the holistic psychologist, Dr. Nicole LaPera. And another area when it comes to the inner work and what you can do is you could definitely check out professional help. Speaking of the holistic psychologist, because she is a psychologist, but you can get professional help with whether it's coaching or therapy. But understand, sometimes you won't find the perfect person in the beginning. Sometimes it takes a few therapists. Sometimes you'll go to a therapist and they're not in alignment with you and you need to go to a different one. I don't want you to think that therapy doesn't work because you don't align with the therapist that you chose. Sometimes it takes a few. Another thing is sometimes you outgrow the therapist or the coach. So be aware that when you're getting therapy and coaching that you may have different ones for different areas of your life or different seasons of your life, and be okay with that. A book recommendation on this would be The Body Keeps a Score. Like if you just can't see a therapist and you want to look at traumas in your body, The Body Keeps a Score is a really good book. I think I have it up here, right here. That's a good one to read. It's a little longer, but take your time and read it. You could also utilize free things. If you don't have access to therapy, to a coach, there's YouTube. There is the library. There is the Libby app, which is a library ebook app. I use that with my Kobo. That is up there. I usually have it up there. You could use it with your Kindle. And treat it like a course, like you would a free course or a paid course, even though it's free. Have your notebook, have your laptop, have your pencil, your highlighters, however you study and good at it. Don't study so much. Focus in on, your one thing and figure out what meshes with you. And that's the thing about inner work. It's so customizable. I could recommend a bunch of things you can do, but really it comes down to you. I didn't have anybody telling me how to do the inner work. I read books. I was on YouTube. I bought courses. I went to literal seminars. I learned and I figured out what worked for me. And that's why in this video, I'm trying not to press upon you what to do, but give you options on how to start, and you will flow from there. So treat it like a course. Maybe you specifically say certain days of the week, you're going to show up and do this, and go on YouTube and find the people that you align with. You don't have to listen to everybody. Find the people who have the life or the vibe or the tone that you want. Like some people, they're very put together when they speak. Like me, I always have a notepad when I'm on here. Well, not always, but usually I have a notepad because I'll forget. I'll forget when I'm talking. I'll just go off tangent, and I have to keep me in alignment. Some people use a teleprompter. Some people are very scripted and they're literally saying exactly what they wrote. Find the person that meshes with you, the book that meshes with you that you like. Because most of these books, like I have way more books than this, but most of the books I've read, they're pretty much saying the same things in different ways. It's really just finding the right author that aligns, that I like their tone, how they speak, how they write, or how they, how they give their information. Another thing is mindfulness and movement. So this looks like somatic work. This can be breath work. A good book recommendation would be the book Breath. It's right here, Breath. James Nestor. That's a good book if you want to learn about breathing and kind of mindfulness, and a lot of good health things are in there. I think of another book, Somatic Work. You can check out The Workout Witch. Simple breathing exercises can look like just breathing in for 4 seconds, holding for 4 seconds, exhaling for 4 seconds or 4 counts, holding for 4 counts, and repeating it over and over again. That's a good basic mindfulness exercise to start for beginners. Doing this before sleep. You can even add in affirmations or declarations or just thought processes when you're doing it, like breathing in, I'm breathing in abundance, I'm breathing in love, I'm breathing in safety, I'm breathing in whatever it is that you are focused on in that moment. And then when you breathe out and you exhale, I'm breathing out worries, I'm breathing out anger, all the things that you want to release and let go. Mindfulness is a practice. It takes practice. I have videos on affirmations and different things, and I'm making more, so they might not be linked. The new ones won't be linked if you're watching this video in the future, but in the past you can look through my videos and see the ones I have on mindfulness or breath work or meditation. Somatic work is very good for releasing traumas that is stored in the body, and that's why I recommended The Body Keeps a Score as a recommendation for this section as well. Another thing is being able to sit with yourself. That's another way to start inner work. Being able to just sit in your room, whether it's, I could have called this mindfulness too, but I wanted to separate it, but being able to just sit with your thoughts, process them. This could be on a walk instead of wearing your headphones and listening to a podcast or constantly trying to learn and grow all the time. Decide I'm going to listen to my thoughts. I'm going to feel into my body and see what am I trying to tell myself? What is trying to be shown to me? Ideas come this way. I've had some of my best ideas like this, just being in silence. Sometimes I'll do it in the car. I'll just go in the car, I'll pull over on the side of the road or sit in my car before I go in the house. If you live alone, same thing, laying on your bed or sitting on your floor. Like I like to sit on my floor a lot when I record these videos. So it's more like it's pretty much what I do when I'm meditating or if I'm reading, because I like to move throughout the day on the floor, on the chair, stand up, walk around, different things like that. So that's another form of starting the inner work, is sitting with yourself. Solitude. It's difficult in an age of just scrolling and constantly going, but it's so worth it. And so much can be revealed to you if you sit and listen. Start with a minute. I've gone up to, I could sit by myself for 15, 20, 30 minutes really now. And this is not, again, for me, meditation, because I usually have my eyes open. It's usually sitting on the, looking at the ceiling or just kind of sitting and thinking. Don't get too deep in it to where I think the word would be ruminating, but getting into it in a sense of, like I said, reflection and seeing your thoughts. Not meditation is more seeing your thoughts and just kind of letting them go. In this, I'm talking about sitting and thinking constructively, or kind of with a guideline, and running through different things, and you'll get ideas and healing will come. You might get a journal prompt that comes up for you and you can journal about it. Some people do this and they could do it with just writing. You could do it as a form of journaling, but try that and let me know if that interests you. It's very weird to do, especially if you're used to being around a lot of things and being exposed to a lot of things, and it's hard to sit with yourself. But I feel like if it's hard to sit with yourself, it's even more important to do it. I forgot one. I actually had to come back at the end of this video because I realized that I didn't say one of the things for how to do the work. Rest. I don't know how I forgot this. I don't know why, because it's like the most important thing to me. Resting is part of the inner work journey. It is how you do the inner work. You have to make sure that you have time to rest and recharge, especially when you're doing mental work, because it can get heavy. And that's why it's important to pause and take breaks as needed. It is important to get your 7+ hours of sleep, especially as a woman, because we need more sleep than men. Please rest. Please recharge. Take the time. It is self-care. It is self-love. It is the inner work. And I really need to start making rest the first thing I mention, because it is the first thing, the first priority when it comes to this. I believe the inner work starts with us really getting to know ourselves, not what society told us to do or be and how to act, but really getting to know us. And it's scary in the beginning, but it will be so worth it. Now, closing it out, the last section, I wanted to give you some daily actions that you could implement over time, or ideas, I would say, to be able to use on a day-to-day basis. This is not saying you do all of these things at one time. I have a video talking about atomic habits. That might be a good one to check out when it comes to this. And I'll link another one below when I talked a little bit about the lock-in for the new year, because it's the same concept. If you don't want to do a whole bunch of things at one time, you want to start small and you could stack them on as you go. When it comes to your daily inner work, your daily habits that pertain to the inner work. Inner work does take consistency. It is a soft discipline. It's not something that you want to attack, that you have to like push and go after. It's something that you want to flow and ease into day by day. So don't look at it so rigidly. Look at it more as a flow. Again, you're taking the time you need. You're not going at this super fast, but you want to be consistent when you do it. I'll give you some examples. I actually wrote down some examples so I wouldn't forget them, but it looks different for every person when it comes to inner work. Like I've said, I think multiple times in this video, but one thing I said about boundaries is boundaries may look like setting aside a space, a time to actually write out the things that you feel like you are not being firm on when it comes to your boundaries. Maybe it's the communication side of it. Maybe it is how you say it, like when it comes to communication. Maybe it's that you're wishy-washy on your boundaries and people could feel it, so they walk all over you. You may say the boundary and then you kind of go back on it. And taking the space and the time to actually write these out and practice them. I have a video on boundaries, on how to practice writing and speaking the boundary so that when the occasion comes up, you're able to better communicate it and better stand firm on that boundary. And that could be something that you do daily, because you're observing when you don't, or when you allow other people to overstep your boundaries. It's basically a daily act, because boundaries come up all the time. Personal boundaries, physical personal boundaries, and then also mental boundaries that you have. Another thing I forgot in my notes, I keep moving around, my legs are getting restless, but another thing I wrote about is you can write all the times when you said yes, when you wanted to say no. That's a perfect example. And then you can reflect on those things. Another one when it comes to self-love, this for me, there's a lot of self-love stuff. I actually have something coming up very soon. I've been working on it for a long time and I had to like stop and go all the way back to the drawing board, and I revamped it. So like for the last month I've been working on this. If that's something you're into, I will have a link below so you can add yourself to the wait list so you'll know when the pre-order is ready or when it's actually released. I don't know exactly what day it's going to be because again, I literally went from scratch again. And so now I could say I'm almost done with the first draft. So we're looking at probably January or possibly December at the way I'm going. I'm not going to say what it is at this moment, but if you're interested in falling in love with your self-love journey, and it's combining kind of all the things I've talked about in this video and over the last couple of weeks, definitely sign up on the link below and I'll put you on that wait list or on the list for the newsletter for it. A daily practice you can do when it comes to inner work can be facing the darker parts of yourself. So say things come up, you get a thought that says, I'm always broke, or I'm worthless, or I'm to this, I'm to that, right? And you hear those thoughts, you sit with them or you journal about it and you write and think like, is this actually true? Who told me this? That's a good way to reflect with inner work. Is this true? Who told me this? Why do I believe this? And then write a new thought of what you want it to be, reprogramming yourself. No, I'm not to this or to that. I was made exactly as I was supposed to be. Maybe when it comes to worthiness, you keep saying you're unworthy, and then you realize, I heard this story over and over again because of what I observed from my mother or my father or society. And then you say, you know what, I don't want to believe that anymore. I am worthy. I do deserve, because if this person could have it, so can I. If it's available to me, if it's out there, I could have it. I always talk about how there's so much money out there, it's like trillions of dollars, but a lot of us are so stuck in survival mode that we think that being broke is normal, but it's really not. It's common, but it's not normal. And I feel like when we open ourselves up to the abundance will flow to us. And so taking those things in the activity, if just in case I didn't clarify it enough, is taking scenarios, your thought processes, looking at them. Why do I think this? Why do I believe this? And then taking that belief and making it into a new belief, a new thought. And when you do this actively with practice, you start to reprogram your mind to think differently. And different people do this different ways. Some people, they'll visualize about it. Some people, it's writing a future self version of this, like writing as if they are already this person who believes the thing that they believe. There are many ways to do this, but doing that on a daily basis or weekly basis, however you feel is necessary, that is a good exercise. And I've done it plenty of times. You could use your phone to write the notes in it. You could get a commonplace notebook to carry in your purse, or just your weekly planner and put it in your purse or your bag and just start notating those things. Use your voice memo as well if you need to kind of walk through it. You could literally sit with yourself, sit 2 chairs, talk like you're talking to your old self or your new self. How would she interact with you? How would she speak? And you be yourself and you say, okay, what would she say to me? What would she say to me, my future self, if she heard me talking like this? Would she be okay with that? No, she'd probably be like, no, get it together. You are this, and this. You are not this, and this. You are not your past. That's a good way. I wouldn't do that necessarily daily, but you can do that, weekly or as needed. Another daily practice or weekly practice, or even as you feel necessary, is doing something that years ago I sat down. I had this speaker, his name was Hector, and he talked about how what he would imagine that his family was sitting out homeless on the side of the road. That's how he would imagine he would always imagine his worst case scenario, his nightmare, the thing that kept him up at night. He would imagine this every day, his family being that way. And that's what would push him towards his goals and what he wanted to do. I believe in this. There's different ways you could do this. You could do this as the positive or the negative, but I believe in this so much. I believe that taking the nightmare, the thing that scares you the most, the life you absolutely don't want to have, and saying, okay, how does this compare to my life now? And then tweaking it. I actually did see a video. I have to remember who the creator was, a video, and they talked kind of about this. If I could find it, I'll link it too, because I think she did a good job of explaining exactly what he talked about when I saw Hector, in like 2010 or something like that, when he first said this. But taking that nightmare and comparing it to what you're doing now, because sometimes your actions, the things you're doing, are literally in alignment with the nightmare. They're not in alignment with the dream. And so be aware of that. I would write and think about that nightmare. I would write about your life, and then what do you want to be, what you said you wanted to be, the version you wanted to be, and see, do more of the actions that you have now align with the nightmare or with the vision of who you see yourself to be. That's another good practice for, it doesn't have to be a daily practice with writing, but it could be a mental practice. Like, oh, she's always broke with this nightmare and I'm spending bad. That reflection is huge. And then lastly, using the things that I mentioned in how we start the inner work, doing those things, journaling, finding journal prompts, courses, self-love rituals, affirmations, therapy, coaching, all the things I mentioned in the section before this, those are also things that you can incorporate on a day-to-day basis. Don't treat this like a chore or a job in that sense, unless you like working. Don't treat it that way. Treat it as a ritual, as something that you do, something that you look forward to. Get more excited about it. Or I know sometimes it's not exciting. Sometimes it is hard. The work sometimes is very hard. But be excited about the person that you're going to become in the process and at the end. Be patient with yourself. Love on yourself. Do not get so stuck up on the habits of the technical stuff. Feel into the experience of learning yourself, of getting to know yourself, of working on yourself. But don't be so pressed to do it all the time, every single day. When you need rest, please rest. Please, please rest. You don't always have to be fixing yourself. Be aware of this. Love on yourself. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this video was helpful. I will see you in the next one. With all my love, Lana.